Hi folks, welcome to my new bike reveal. Well, after a long time thinking, I've sold my beloved Tracer 900 GT 2018. Oops, 20 mile an hour. Been a long time coming. I had my unusual brake light sticking on, and it didn't appear to be any of the switches, which there's obviously currently a worldwide recall for. It was put into a dealer. Dealer couldn't find anything wrong with it. Spent 2 weeks on it, or 3 weeks, but one of the mechanics was self-isolating due to COVID during that time, so the bike was off the road for over a month. And because they couldn't find a fault, I got billed £528, which I still believe should have been covered by the Yamaha warranty. It was under 2 years old, but because they couldn't tell Yamaha what was wrong, and they couldn't find out what was wrong, although obviously they could see what was wrong, they couldn't do a warranty claim seemingly. So I got a bit peeved off with that and decided, lost faith in the bike basically. Under 2 years old, it had cut out a few times, just, you know, that horrible loss of everything. It might have been related to a dodgy quick shifter, it might not have been. I think personally there was a break in the loom, or corrosion potentially in the loom somewhere. But anyway, I decided I would buy something different. Now, what I bought was a BMW R1250RS Sport. Now, I was a bit confused because I thought sport meant it was sporty. The sport was basically just the colour. You've got the base model, which is black. You have, there's a bad junction here, the exclusive, which is the one I actually wanted, but I thought that was the top of the range one, to be honest, more than colour as well. But that's a really dark blue, so much so that I don't know why this is a giveaway. Can't see. It's a 60 mile an hour road either sort of cutting across you. No way you can see if there's something coming at 60 by giving way. Anyway, yeah, so the exclusive I thought was top of the range. I missed out on one. It was the salesman's day off that I was dealing with. When the salesman came back, his sales manager had sold it. It was a BMW management or an X-Demo, not quite sure which one it was, the one I missed out on. But it looked great. I seen this in John Clark BMW up in Dundee during COVID times, so you know, it wasn't a case of test riding. I test rode an exclusive last year, and it was a nice bike. It was a nice bike. It just wasn't amazing. Didn't make me sort of go, oh, this is, I want one. As well as obviously the wiring issue with the Yamaha, and I've got to say, my 900 GT had a Chituro automatic chain oiler on it from new. It was up at about 12,000 miles when I got a shot of it, and I hadn't had any issues with the chain, but I just can't be bothered adjusting chains anymore. I find it quite difficult. You know, it seems to be it's loose, so you need to adjust it, but if you adjust it to the next adjuster, then it's too tight, so you have to do it sort of in between, sort of halfway house, and it's just not ideal. So anyway, I wanted a shaft drive. So the Sport is this lovely gold colour, what I used to call OAP gold, but as I'm not an OAP yet, we'll change that. It wasn't my colour choice. I didn't want a gold one at the time, but I didn't want to miss out on another one. This one was 11,888 for a 6-month-old, just over 6-month-old, 671 as new BMW R1250RS. Now this brand new, if I walked into a dealer and spec'd it up with the spec this has got, I would have been just a shade under £17,000. So as far as I'm concerned, I got a £5,000 saving on this bike for 6 months old. And I've got to say, when I road tested the exclusive one in 2019, just after they were launched, I think it was the first, when were first available, the RS version. I'd already ridden the GSA, which I quite liked. I did quite like. The 1250 engine is amazing. Yes, it's still a boxer twin. It's not as refined maybe as some of your Japanese bikes, but it's got character, and it's not character as in it's shite, and we'll call it character to make up for basically horrible things like clunky gear change. Gear change in this is really smooth. Clutch is as light as one of the lightest clutches I've ever had, and the spec on it is unbelievable. I've had it now since the beginning of March. I've obviously not been riding it very much because of the lockdown, but when I've had the opportunity, I've rode it, and I'm still getting to grips with learning it. But what this machine can do is unbelievable. It's an amazing machine. Checking my mirror, everything's clear. Now I'm not trying there. I'm hardly trying at all, and that's one of the things I like about this bike. Don't get me wrong, I think the Yamaha Tracer 900 or the 900 GT, and probably the newer one's even better, but the newer one is 12.2 on the road. I got this for less than a Yamaha, and I don't care what you say, that the finish on this bike compared to the Yamaha is great. You look at some of the fixtures and fittings, it's all Torx bolts, that's the only thing I don't like. But you look at the fixtures and fixings and finish on this compared to the Yamaha. The drift probably won't pick it up, but this is the 6th of May, maybe the 7th? 7th of May. Friday the 7th of May. Now, I don't know if you can see, but I'm just at sort of dawdling pace, and the balance of the bike is amazing. Absolutely, balance is brilliant. Yeah, sorry, so it's the 7th of May, it's 8 degrees, it's pretty cold actually, but the problem is we've had a lot of rain in the last week. We're basically heading into more rain tomorrow, so this is the first dry day probably for at least a week, and the first chance I've had to be out on it for a fair while. So 8 degrees, but there's a lot of salt on the road, dry salt, so this will need a good clean. And I've got to be honest, most of the rides I've had on this so far are in similar conditions. It's maybe been a cracking day when we've been out, but the council's been out gritting the night before. Oh, wee judder there, wee hesitation. So the bike's seen quite a lot of salt, and it gets its mandatory rinse down when I get home, but it's not had anything other than a hose down, maybe a wash. Not been that successful at washing it. It seems to be still dirty after I wash it, but anyway, it just gets a quick wash, nothing. Now, had I been riding a Yamaha, I would guarantee there'd be signs of surface rust, and you know, signs of the salt starting to eat it. Nothing like that at all so far. So this is a premium used BMW, so it comes with loads of great things. It's got a tracker, which I got a free membership of because the BMW management lady who owned it before me, or leased it before me, or whatever they do with them, hadn't registered it, so it basically started from when I bought the bike in March. So I get a year's free tracking with Data Tool or whatever it is for free. I get BMW breakdown assist, free balance of the 3-year warranty, and the option to actually extend it when it comes to the end of it. So servicing, not looking forward to that. I think it's £200 for the 6,000, which is probably on par with what the Yamahas will be now. £200 for that, and £400 for the 12,000 because they do the valves. I may look into taking out a service plan, which I think is roughly £1,000 for 3 years or something, but it depends on the mileage. Don't know. I could see me doing a big mileage on this. I've done well over 1,000 miles in the, it's now 2 months, actually 2 months to the day, but most of that 2 months has been in lockdown periods, so I've done a fair few miles. Not been anywhere, so to speak, other than using it on my local haunts, but the balance and poise of this machine is brilliant. But one of the main differences between this and the Yamaha, engine wise, is the Yamaha wanted you to cane it all the time. This is happy if you want to cane it, but you don't have to. You can potter and you've still got all that torque and all that grunt to basically just wind that throttle back a wee bit wet there, to wind that throttle back, and you just fly towards the horizon. I think he's coming back a wee bit for me, thank you very much, give him a wee nod. So, you know, it has a quick shifter and auto blipper, but to be honest with you, the clutch is that light, I don't actually use it most of the time. You just ride that torque wave. That's only going to 5,000 RPM. 5,000. Now, I'll be honest, the Tracer was similar, but the difference was there was a huge top end in Tracer, which I started getting into the habit, unfortunately. I was ragging the bike, or what I consider ragging it. I didn't want to go, I could go out and I could potter about, I could do that, but I didn't want to do that. Every corner was, it was like a race. A wee bit of a blind summit there. Every corner was a race. I just wanted to go faster and faster all the time, and you know, unfortunately at some point I would have reached the edge of my skill. My skill would have been, level would have been exceeded, because you know, obviously the bike's better than I am. I'm just coming up to 30, so I won't bother. Again, on the Yamaha I'd have been by him, because I just would have, you know, can't have somebody in front of me. Whereas this, I'd say the Yamaha, it doesn't have to be, you don't have to ride it like a hooligan, but it likes it, and it's in its DNA, if you like. The BMW R1250RS has actually made me fall back in love with motorcycling again. I'd fallen out of love for a wee while with motorcycling, to the point where I couldn't be bothered getting the bike out, I couldn't be bothered, where do I go? You know, and my wife's not feeling very well today, otherwise she'd probably be with us. So, you know, she's like, where are you going? And I was like, I've no idea, I'm just going to go wherever the bike takes me. I've got no set plan, no set route. I didn't wind it back there because there's quite a curve there. Again, sort of taking it to 4,000 RPM, just up nice gently through the gearbox. I'm slightly above the speed limit. Wee sort of staggered junction here, so we'll slow down a wee bit. And then flip to the left, flip to the right, flip back to the right again. I've done that wrong, as in left, right, but there you go. But it's just beautiful. So, you know, at what is the speed limit, and the day any faster than that, and you're obviously risking a fine and points on your licence and stuff. At the speed limit, it just feels beautiful, and it's unhurried. But again, if you want to put that needle, or the dial, whatever you want to call it, 'cause it's obviously an LCD. If you want to put that needle into the red line, or head it towards the red line, it'll go, and boy does it go. These aren't slow, these are immensely fast, and they're also immensely fun. It's got electronic suspension. I'm currently in, I don't know what I'm in actually, probably road mode, because I find dynamics a bit choppy, especially the state of roads. I'm also in power mode road, and again, I'm just out for a bimble. I'm not out to break speed records, I'm not out to, you know, go fastest round this corner than I've ever been before. I'm not there today. So obviously BMWs are highly acclaimed for their TFTs, and I don't know if the camera will pick that up a lot of the time, but this is in sport mode, which is seemingly a new sort of mode that they added last year. I don't know if this bike came with it, or whether John Clark put it on as part of an update before I got the bike, but it's obviously got the big main circular style rev counter, which is lovely, and I love putting it in sport mode. It gives you your lean angles, and you know, obviously again you can maybe see the slightly yellowy golden line in the middle of the road there. That's salt. So I'm trying to avoid it as best as possible, but it's obviously not always possible. So yeah, it's a great bike. It's a slow burner. I've got to admit, the first ride I had of it, once they delivered it, it was an essential journey, and it was into Edinburgh, and the bike felt a bit heavy, it felt a bit cumbersome. It didn't feel great, to be honest, and I started thinking, I've made a mistake here. This isn't a good bike. It's you know, it's hard to get a bad bike, but it's obviously quite an expensive bike. And I just thought after my first ride, it's okay, but it's just not amazing, it's not wonderful, it's not fabulous. So, and that's probably what I felt after my hour's test ride, when I got a test ride, either in early 2020 or 2019, can't remember. I've got a funny feeling it was November 2019. I took it for a test ride, not this particular bike, but you know, an RS. And I just didn't gel with it. I just thought, yeah, it's okay, it's nice-ish, but it's not amazing, it's not wonderful. But the more I ride this now, the more I'm feeling it, the more I'm enjoying it. It's a slow burner. It needs more time in the saddle. I can understand potentially why lots of people road test these and then go and buy a GS or something else, because an hour just isn't, it's not enough. Now here we are, slow speed, don't even 2 miles an hour, 3 miles an hour. I'm more or less, it's not even walking pace, so it's hardly moving. And yeah, it might be a bit wobbly according to the camera, but I feel very confident. I'm just dabbing the back brake. I'll just let them go. So I'll put my foot down to let them go. Look at the state of this road. terrible. It's got self-cancelling indicators, electronic suspension, up and down, quick shifter, you name it, this bike has got it. The TFT is great. I don't use the standard TFT, which everyone sort of likes, and it's good. It is really good. The standard TFT is really good. I just prefer the sport one. So it's a bit of a faff. I wish it would. It obviously remembers you've left your heated grips on and keeps them on, but it doesn't remember what dash you're in, so you have to sort of reload that every time you stop. That's a wee niggle. Standard screen is a bit mince. I managed to pick up an MRA flip thingy-badoop. Bit of a pain in the backside to adjust it. I don't know if it's just because it's so new. I picked it up second hand, but going by how tight all the clips and stuff are, I'd say it's not really been used that much. But then once you've got it in the setting you like, you pretty much leave it there. Screen's adjustable, so it's got an up and down. It's in sort of higher setting at the moment, which I find great. Again, I was disappointed when I road tested the 1250RS that I road tested, because part of the niggles with the 900 GT, or even the Tracer 900 or the MT09 Tracer that I had before, is the buffeting. The buffeting was terrible. It just sounded horrible, and again it was quite hard to get round that. I got one of these flippy things for the 900 GT and put that on the standard screen and sort of transposed it over to the, I hate this corner, I don't know why, I don't like it. Transposed it over and I felt better. 6th gear, just a big bit of torque and you're back up to speed limit. And it was much better. So I only had the standard screen on the Yamaha, and I also got it with a touring screen, which, you know, was BMW RT-esque, like when you had that on. You know, sometimes you actually got too hot, believe it or not. Whereas at the moment with this, in the high setting, I'm not getting any buffeting, but I can feel the cool air on my baldy wee heat. So I'm obviously getting enough. So back into 30, I'm obviously getting enough of a wind blast to try and keep me cool. Although still at 8 degrees, it's cold. It is cold today. I've got the liner on my jacket. I've got the heated grips on 1. This only has 3 settings, off, 1 and 2. Another wee tiny niggle is when you turn the heated grips on, they come on at 2, and usually within a very short period of time, even in the coldest days, you have to turn them down a wee bit. It's almost like you could do with an in-between setting. 2's too hot, 1's not quite warm enough. I don't think you can adjust them. The Yamaha had, I think, 10 settings, or 3 settings, but it had 10 settings within that. So, you know, you could go from 1 to 10. What a silly place to stop, right on a blind corner. Yeah, so you had 1 to 10 you could choose, and you could allocate that to the 3 settings. So you could have number 3 is 10, which was blisteringly hot in the Yamaha as well. Then you could have it at maybe 8, and then maybe 6. So all were quite warm, but bear in mind I live in Scotland, it's cold. You know, this is the 7th of May, and potentially we've got snow forecast yesterday. We had snow, and there's potentially more snow today. So, you know, heated grips are a must. But yeah, it's a slow burner, but you know what, I'm just out enjoying the ride. I'm not in a terrible hurry. I've still not really got anywhere particular that I want to go. I'm just heading this way and enjoying the sunshine, because it is lovely and sunny. It's still cold, but it's lovely and sunny. But yeah, brilliant. I'm loving it. A week after I bought it, yeah, I definitely had reservations and, you know, sort of thought, what have I done? You know, a month after I bought it, nah, I love it. It just took a wee bit of time to get used to it. Not from the point of view it's drastically different, it's just, in a lot of ways it's just, it's a lot more advanced than the Yamaha, a lot more advanced. With technology, it's got 6-axis IMUs and all that sort of stuff. You know, the Yamaha would have destroyed me for being in the wrong gear there, whereas this is just, again, just wind the throttle back and it pulls. Get the tractor out of the room since he was demanding it. Now I could have used the auto blipper there, but as I say, the clutch is that light, I just can't be bothered. Never know where this road goes. Technically it's much more advanced than the Yamaha is, although the brand new one at 12.2, the 9 GT, is obviously caught up in a lot of respects, and it's still giving you a huge bang for your buck. But as well as being much more technologically advanced, this also feels much more basic as well, but in a good way. I can just get on with riding the bike and enjoying the scenery, enjoying the run, or enjoying the ride, should I say. I don't need to be at the top of my game all the time. Loving it. So, if you're in the market for one of these, I'd give it 12 out of 10. Yeah, I've mentioned a couple of tiny wee niggles, but you know,